Okay, good evening, friends. I think if I got everything working, we should be live now. There's a short. Oh, yeah, there I see myself. There's a short delay, so whenever I say anything or press any buttons, it's about 10 seconds before I can see who is here. So now it's working. I hope everyone's. Hey, Jessica. LB, I don't think I've seen you before. Are you new? Is it the first time you're here? Mats. Oh, nice to see you again, Mats. I'm good. How are you doing? I had a really interesting day today, actually. As I'm new here. Nice. It's nice to have you here, Jessica. I had such a like. I always talk about distortions, right? And when you have real life experiences that you can kind of relate that to from California. Nice. I've been there when I was 16. That's how long ago is that? 30 years ago. No, wait, 17. 21, 29 years ago, I was in California. Applications and interviews. Are you getting a new job, Mats, or are you hiring people, or is it for the dating site? You have all the applications and interviews. I mean, that would work. By the way, I don't know if you've seen it, Jessica. Since you're new, I actually released a video just, I think was it 2 days ago about. I think I call it the how to get deep meditation simply or quickly. Your job, yeah, but doing nowadays feels easy. Yeah, I can imagine. Sorry, Jessica. I was just saying I released a video a few days ago where I actually go through a bit the technique that we use here. So if you want to learn more about it, I recommend you watch that video if you haven't seen it already, because I go through a bit of how this technique that we're going to do today, which is the breathing and the counting, is specifically designed to just calm you down and to bring you into the present. So it has its advantages and disadvantages, but for what we're trying to do here, it's really, really good, and it's such a good technique to start out with. Is the sound okay, by the way? Is it working like this? So nice, Jessica. Sounds very good. I'm happy I'm finally getting the audio and everything to work, because it is every time before I set it up, it takes time to just prepare everything, and I'm still working on what kind of image I want to have when I do my videos. So if you've seen, I've been changing it around a bit, and like it's all the thumbnails. I used to say that jokingly and also seriously. When I was ordained as a monk, it was much easier, because then people would come to me and I would be at a center and they would want to listen to what I said. Or I held a course outside of a center, and then I had them for a day, and I could lock people in the room for a day, and I had my time kind of to gradually work people into understanding what I'm trying to say, which is difficult because it's a little bit against what we normally see as spirituality, and it's a different angle towards it, which just works really well and solves many of the issues that people have when they start with spirituality. So I when I have a day, I can lock them up in there, and I can just kind of start telling my stories, and by the end of the day, they're like, okay, I get it now. Like, I understand what you're trying to say. But in a YouTube video, it's just to get someone to click the button to actually give me the chance of saying what I'm trying to say is difficult. And then once they click the button and they come to the video, they have 3 or 5 seconds, and then like, yeah, this is not what I was expecting, and they click it away. So it really is a different way of kind of balancing how much do you give, like front loaded, how much do you tell right away, because if you say too much, then it won't really make any sense. Some things you actually have to understand more. You have to kind of build up to understanding what it is, or it's not just what you say, because if you don't understand the finer nuances of it, then it will just fall flat. So it is a balance, and I'm still working on how to do that in a way that I feel okay with, that I find is fun, because I could, of course, frame it in a way that's more easily digestible, but then it wouldn't be what I want it to be. So I'm still trying different angles and trying to have fun with it. Let's see, so I have everything here. Yeah, and for Jessica and anyone else who's new here, we the way we do this is we have about 5 minutes now before, where everyone just has a chance to join. Then we sit for 20 minutes, and after those 20 minutes, we have questions and answers if anyone has any questions. Just gonna set the timer, and I'd recommend everyone to turn off their phones. It helps, even though it is fun to meditate with distractions. I've said this before, that I had a meditation teacher one time who, what he did was that he walked around his students. I think it was in Penang in Malaysia, and he walked around his students with a water bottle that he sprayed on them, and he would go around and just go like this, like right next to them. Or he'd start, I remember first time I was there, started hearing loud, weird music that was not, it was from a radio, but it was not completely on the channels. It was really distracting. And it's a really good way of realizing that it's not about just getting deep into meditations. It's that you need to look at the distortions, as I call them, that come up when you have distractions. So I actually had an idea of making a guided meditation with loads of commercials, because I hate commercials on YouTube. I think they're really annoying sometimes. Uh, Not hate them, but they just take up so much time, and I pay for YouTube Premium because it's just much easier and it's worth it for me. So when I listen to a video, if it keeps getting interrupted, then I have to look at the distortion I have towards the interruption in the video I'm watching. So I had an idea of making a guided meditation and then every minute having a commercial. And that would be a really good way of watching distortions, because I think anyone would find it irritating. Once you get kind of down and like just get calmer, then it's like, and this commercial starts. I thought that would be really fun and a good exercise to do. So maybe I'll do that one time. I said, and would tickle people. Yes, yeah, exactly. He tickled them with feathers. What else did he do? He did lots of weird stuff, but it was really fun. And he had a group of people that came to him, had been coming to him for years, so they were very loyal to him because he was really good at explaining how to sit with this. Okay, so I see time is running. I'm just going to drink a little bit. Today is Monday, so that means we have the guided meditations. And we'll start, as we normally do nowadays, with the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method. And we'll just do it together. The way that we do it is that we name 5 things that we can see, 4 things that we can touch, 3 things that we can hear, and 2 things that we can taste, and finally 2 things that we can smell, and finally 1 thing that we can taste. And after that, we sit for 20 minutes and the questions and answers afterwards. So you can just do it at the same time as me. So we say it out aloud. If you're near where you disturb someone, just say it to yourself. But it's important that you stop and actually become aware, because it's meant to bring you back to your senses and more here and now. So I see a remote control for my heater. I see a bag for the laptop. I see a microphone. I see a plank, and I see a printer. I think there was 5, maybe 4. A bonus one is I see a key also. And then after that, we do 4 things that we can touch. I can touch this bell. I think it's brass, very cold. I can touch the stick that I use to ring the bell. I can touch this microphone stand, and I can touch the mouse that's lying here. So that's 4 things that I can touch. Afterwards, we take 3 things that we can hear. I can hear a bird sound. It sounds like a baby bird. I can hear the humming of electronics. And I hear a car passing. After you've done 3 things that you can hear, then we take 2 things that we can smell. I can smell spring. There's a scent of spring just hanging in the air, and I had the door open before. And then there's some kind of perfume, not mine. Maybe my fiance's, or some kind of perfume, maybe detergent. And lastly, we take one thing that we can taste. And I can taste my rooibos tea. So to begin, just put yourself in a comfortable position, and if it's okay with you, then close your eyes. And bring your awareness to your breath. Just start becoming aware of breath moving in and out of your body. If there's lots of thoughts coming in, just ask yourself or say to yourself that for the next 20 minutes, just for 20 minutes, afterwards you can start thinking as much as you like again and pondering about the questions of life. But for these next 20 minutes, see if it's okay to just observe your breath, to just stay here and now and observing this simplest of all things, as your body is doing what it's supposed to do when you're breathing in and breathing out. In and out. To make it a little bit easier to stay with the breath, we'll do a technique where we count from 1 to 8 and then down from 8 to 1. And we'll do it together at first, and then you can continue by yourself. So breathing in and breathing out. 1. Breathing in and breathing out. 2. Breathing in and breathing out. 3. Breathing in and breathing out. 4. Breathing in and breathing out. 5. Breathing in and breathing out. 6. Breathing in and breathing out. 7. Breathing in and breathing out. 8. Breathing in and breathing out. 7. Breathing in and breathing out. 6. Breathing in and breathing out. breathing out. 3, breathing in and breathing out. 2, breathing in and breathing out. 1. Now just continue observing your breath as you're breathing in and breathing out, and count 1, breathing in and breathing out. In the beginning, it usually takes a little bit of time before you've stilled your mind and stilled your body and made yourself understand that it's okay to just sit still and do nothing. Well, nothing except for observing your breath. And if you have a hard time staying with the breath, realize that there's only really one way that you can fail at this, and that is by being hard on yourself and judging. And the best part is that the way to change that, and it's something that you can do immediately, is to do exactly the one thing that you need to do. And it doesn't matter if you do it now, if you do it in 5 minutes, 5 seconds, because it'll still be now when you do it. And that thing is to keep coming back over and over and over again to your breath. Doesn't matter how far away you went with your thoughts, how much you missed your breath, just keep coming back as you're observing your breath, breathing in and breathing out. 1, breathing in and breathing out. In this particular meditation technique, we're not trying to control the breath. We're not trying to slow it down. We're not trying to speed it up. We're trying to get out of the way and simply let breath happen by itself. And generally when we do, you'll see that it starts slowing down. It will start becoming more shallow, not so deep, calmer and gentler. But sometimes it won't, and that's okay as well. We're just observing what the breath is doing. As you're breathing in and breathing out. 1. Breathing in and breathing out. To move our awareness closer to now, when you observe the breath, see if you can see it as slices of breath. In other words, you're not seeing a breathing cycle, breathing in, pausing and turning into breathing out, and a longer pause. Instead, you're seeing breath, 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 pause, 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 turning around as it goes breath, 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 and it's pause, 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 and then breathing in again, breath, breath, breath. So we're trying to observe these slices of time, slices of breath. In the beginning, it will feel almost like your breath is stuttering as you're following it, and that's perfectly normal. Don't force your awareness on it, just let it gently rest there and see if you can see these small slices of your breath. As there's breath, 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 and then out, breath, breath, breath. 1, breathing in and breathing out. And again, be gentle to yourself. Be kind. Be forgiving. Really is one of the most important things when you're meditating. To not fight your mind. Not even try to still your mind. Just put your awareness on your breath. It's the only thing you're doing. And the way to calm down the mind is by coming back over and over again to your breath. If you fight it, you'll start struggling and it will get worse. But if you just let it happen and observe the breath and see that there's thoughts, and that's okay. You're trying to see the slices, but then you drift off into a fantasy of something, and then you bring it back to your breath, and sometimes the thoughts will be so strong and so overpowering that you feel that you can't let go of it. And that's okay as well. Then all you need to do is just keep part of your awareness on your breath. To see if you can keep a small part of your awareness on your breath as the thoughts are running around behind you, but just hold on to your breath as an anchor. And eventually the thoughts will slow down and you will become calmer and you will become more present as you're observing your breath, breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. For the last part of the meditation, try to let go of the counting. Try to let go of observing the breath. Just stay in awareness and see what you can find inside of yourself. Just move your awareness around your body, feeling that there's maybe some pain, maybe some warmth, some cold. Whatever you're feeling, just move your awareness around your body. And as you do, just try to relax and be okay with whatever you're experiencing. So if you want, you can continue meditating, but you're also free to ask questions if you have any. I think I started saying in the beginning that I had an interesting story from today. It was actually from my fiance, who was telling me that she was in a forum, and she's a massage therapist and a skin therapist. So she does, I think they're calling it facial treatments, where they put on all lotions and all kinds of things. And she got in a discussion on a forum where someone said that they had hair on their face, and then someone said, "Oh, you should just shave off the hair." It was a woman. And then she posted and said, like, actually, no, you're not supposed to do that, because if you shave off the hair, then it'll grow back stronger. And then people started saying, like, no, that's not actually true. That's a myth. One of those things that people just keep on saying. And she felt that defensiveness inside of her, like, I'm a skin therapist. I've done this for like 20 years. I think she's worked at that, or 15. So I'm gonna look up the answer and show them they're wrong. The self starts reacting. It starts distorting. Like, I want to make this right. And she started looking it up, and it turns out she was wrong. That she had been wrong for 20 years, and she had told people this, and she was a skin therapist. She's supposed to know these things. And she said that she started feeling all this distortion towards it, that I am supposed to know this stuff. This is my job, and I've been telling people something wrong. And then she felt the need to defend, but she knew she was wrong, because she had looked it up, and apparently that was not what it was not what she thought it was supposed to be. So then afterwards, she looked at that distortion and felt, like, I need to defend myself. But no, then she just said, well, I was wrong, so I just say this. And she said it, but she could also feel the distortion, the fear of, like, admitting that she was wrong instead of defending and standing down. And she told them, and then most people were saying that it's very brave of you to actually admit that you had a mistake and that you'd done something wrong, because it's something that's very difficult for people to do. And then there was someone who said that, well, what kind of a skin therapist are you if you don't even know that? But she was taught this at her class in school when they were studying this stuff. So it's really interesting to see how this distortion is just the self coming up to protect itself. Like, I have an identity. I am a skin therapist. I know this stuff. And then someone says something, and then we start pushing against it. No, that's not how it is. I know it. And then you start pushing against it. And then when you find out you're wrong, then this whole view kind of, either you start, like, putting down your feet, saying, no, it probably is wrong, they just don't know, or you just stop the conversation. But actually looking at that, you see, oh, wait a minute, this is silly. And then you can let go of the distortion. So it's not about what you do or what you say about being right or being wrong. It's about letting go of this distortion. And since she was able to do that, she could actually learn and move forward and say, oh, you know what, I was wrong. This was a mistake on my part. And maybe I should have checked this out before, but I didn't, and I'm happy you told me now. So I thought that was a really interesting story of how the self is what starts defending itself. And when you take away this sense of self, not your ideas and beliefs, because now she has another belief, which is that it doesn't matter if you shave your face or not, it's not going to grow back stronger or faster. That's just knowledge or information, which could be wrong also. It could be that everyone has got it wrong. But I still thought it was an interesting story. Let's see, Mats writes, I often feel my gaze switch even though I have my eyes closed. When my mind drifts and come back to my breath, it feels like my thoughts move my eye. I feel like that should be useful somehow in meditation, but I'm not sure how. Does your fiancé meditate? Well, yes, she meditates. She's more of a yoga teacher, but she does meditate. The eyes is something, I don't think I've spoken so much about it here, but I do speak a lot about it with my clients. students, especially when we go into a bit deeper, because the eyes, it's so interesting that our brain states are linked to our eyes. They're just connected, directly connected to our eyes, and there's so much you can learn about your state from your eyes. You can also, when you start looking at this and you can see people, you can see when they're completely lost in their mind, when you start becoming aware of what's happening with their eyes. So you have different things. Part of it is the whole idea. I don't really know the thought about, I mean, the philosophy behind it, but they say like when you look in certain angles, you're thinking and you're accessing memories. I don't know how true that is or how much is behind that. That's not really what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is how you can observe how your vision changes. So the way that well, the simple version of this would be that you can see when you're stuck in, I don't say stuck in your thoughts, you're actually stuck in your distortions, this feeling of, oh, I'm right, and then there's thoughts to justify that feeling. When you do that, you'll notice that you're not observing, you're not looking with your eyes. It's kind of like you have this hazy vision. You're not really seeing, you're kind of stuck inside and you're just feeling this and you're distorting and pushing and you're manipulating this field. So you're not really looking around, you're not really focusing on anything. That's one of the reasons I do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method at first, because it really makes you look at things and stop and look and stop and look and stop and look. Stop and touch, stop and hear, smell and taste. So if you notice that you're not really aware of what you're watching, that means that you're, well, most people would say stuck in their mind, but I would say stuck in your distortion. And when you get angry, you see red, meaning you don't really see around you. You're just controlled by this thing that wants to reach out and do something with the world around you. So you can really learn and tell a lot of your inner state from your eyes. Nice, Jessica. Yeah, like I said, you're welcome to sit as long as you like, or just ask questions also. So when we have this, that's one part of it, that you notice that you're kind of drifting into your distortions. There's also another part that when you go into what's called jhanas or concentration states, you'll notice that your vision goes from watching, kind of, you have this feeling of this is me and vision is coming here. Like I have a perspective that is actually something that disappears once you've meditated for a while. Once certain things happen, you'd stop feeling this sense of vision is coming here. But one thing that will change is that you have the sense that I'm observing this narrow thing here. And then when you go down in the jhanas concentration stage, you'll notice that your vision kind of widens. And it's like you're not watching this small point here. It's more that your awareness becomes of all of this field. And I remember so clearly when this started happening to me. It was a meditation center near Ella, and I was out walking at night, and I kept seeing things on the side. What the? Is there someone walking, or what is it? Because all of a sudden I was being aware, like right at the peripheral of my vision, of things passing, which was something that I didn't even see before, but I kept seeing it passing, lights and shapes and trees and shadows, and it was a bit disorienting, because it really is, your vision keeps getting wider. One more thing about vision, I have much more to talk about, but another thing is that there was something that happened to me, I don't know how long into my meditation, like a few months after I really started meditating. And it is that whenever I close my eyes, I don't actually close my eyes. I just sit down and it's my eyes hang. So I don't have to, I remember how it used to be that I had to keep my eyes closed, or at least put them down. Now it's kind of like when I do like this, it's just my muscles and in all of this area just disappears, and my eyes are not, I'm not closing my eyes. It's that they're hanging, and it's more that I need to open them. It's not that I need to keep them. Does that make sense? I don't need to close my eyes. I need to open them, and because they're kind of closed by themselves. And that also seems to be something, I mean, I've sat down for thousands upon thousands of times. So in my mind, whenever I say cross-legged, like, okay, my mind knows you're going to meditate, and I just change my internal state right away. I don't even have to do anything. It's just automatic. And that seems to be tied to the eyes. So as soon as I do that, and it started with the eyes, and then it goes with my cheeks, so my whole muscles kind of become like this. And it's not something I intentionally do. It just seems to be connected somehow to these states. I sometimes feel, much as saying, I sometimes feel like I can look into my gaze in a way and my vision becomes very wide. Sounds familiar? Yes. As long as you're not defocusing. When you're doing this, you will be very aware of what you're seeing. It's like everything comes into sharpness, especially when you go into what I call non-centric states or non-dual state. Everything is, I wear glasses, but I see better without glasses when I'm in a non-centric state, because it's like there's no longer, the distortion literally makes it distorted. It literally is like it's a like a fluxing, vibrating thing in front of you, and it's kind of, everything is, it's a struggle. When you look at one point, you're actually, if you try to look at one point, your eyes are going to start working. They're not made to look at one thing. They start work, and then they start distorting, and it's kind of like, oh, I need to look around and look. When you're in a non-centric state or non-dual state, that doesn't happen. You just rest your vision, and it's just calm. It's just there, and everything is just clear. There is no, not this struggle, not this like distorting towards things that you see. It's just seeing, effortless and without conflict. Let's see. Jessica is saying, yes, makes sense. Mats wrote, yes, yeah, it does not feel like zoning out. Exactly, that's what I was getting at. I'm just more aware of a wider field of vision, like a broadened focus. Yeah, that's what happens when you go into these jhanas or these concentration states. Your vision kind of widens, and you just become aware of a wider area. What I wanted to get at, exactly what you said, is that there's another thing that can happen, which is that when you're driving, you're kind of driving and you're kind of sitting like this and you're driving, and all of a sudden, like, oh, I just drove for an hour and I don't remember anything, because you were stuck in your distortions, in your thoughts, and you weren't really aware of what you were looking at. And that can also feel like a wide, but that's more of a haze than having that clear vision where you see everything clearly. Yes, that's a good observation. So I'm just going to put this on. It's getting a little bit cold in here. So yeah, the eyes are very interesting, and when you start really observing your eyes, you'll see so much from it. You can see people around you when you go to the cash register and people are stuck in their distortions. You see the person who just kind of like hand you the stuff and they're not really there. I see so many young people doing this, and it really, it's sad to see. They're not aware of life. They're not aware of what's happening around them. See, Jessica wrote, my hands went down at one point. I wasn't aware of them. I have this weird thing on my screen that there's a heart in front of the screen, so I can't see the last word, but I think you wrote, my hands went down at one point. I wasn't aware of them. Yeah, that happens. Like there's different ways that things can go, and I generally just say that whatever happens, what happened to me for a lot of time was that I would sit, I would be very aware, and then I'd just disappear for half an hour, and then I'd come back. I literally, it's not that I was dreaming. It seems that I just was not thinking or doing anything. My thought is that I was simply not aware, or it was the same thing. I don't know. Different things can happen, and sometimes you sit and you're super aware of everything and the breath, and it's like, oh, all of a sudden the time is gone, and sometimes you're just kind of drifting off, and whatever happens kind of. It's, we're trying to bring awareness and be aware of what's happening, but sometimes the mind just kind of does something else, and then I let the mind do its stuff. I always had this philosophy that, and it came from when I was reading these old texts about, especially the jhanas, which are concentration states, and I could see that the way they described these thousands of years ago was exactly how I was experiencing them, which means that it's not something that I'm doing, because I hadn't read about it. I experienced it and then I read about it. So it means that it's not something that I kind of made my mind do, but rather if I just got out of the way, my mind would do this. And so it's a structure of the mind somehow. And that's something I believe strongly in, that when you meditate, you let that structure come out, whatever that happens to be. So sometimes the mind just shuts down and I'm not actually doing the breathing meditation or being aware. I'm just sitting there, and I find that perfectly fine. The only thing I try to avoid is drifting into my distortions or my thoughts. Sometimes I do. I've sat oh my God, I've said so much with these fantasies or thoughts coming out or illusions of grandeur and like all these things that can come up. Let's see. I meant numb, sorry. Dumb. Oh, it went dumb. Okay, I see it now. Yeah, it's like I said, it cuts out the last of the word. I don't know why they have that heart there. And I don't seem to be able to move it. Let's see. No, because if I do, I just press a heart. I can't. Yeah. Let's see. Jessica said, I meant numb, yes. And Mats wrote, I heard that meditation is a state of consciousness between being awake and dreaming. I think I got that from a Hindu guru. Would you agree? I'm not even sure what meditation is, Mats. I used like we say all what is an emotion? What does it feel? I don't. I used to be very clear. Oh, it's like this, it's like that. But I've changed my mind and I've become so accepting of what these things mean that I would disagree with that a little, because meditation, one way to view it is simply that you're using your mind in a specific way. It can be observing a mantra that you're doing, like Om, and that can be very soothing. It can be doing what we're doing here, which is observing the breath. Meditation can do breath work, where you like manipulating your breath to make you feel these powerful sensations. Meditation can be being really aware of moving, like doing some kind of Tai Chi. It could also be cycling, doing a monotonous movement over and over. And then, like, meditation is the act of doing something. But I think what he was trying to say was a meditation state. And then what he probably meant would be jhanas or concentration states. And yes, they are somewhere in between awake. Maybe not dreaming. Well, I guess maybe. It's like a different, the mind probably changes these brain waves. But that's not really the goal of it for me. For me, the goal is becoming clear, actually being able to see. But when I intentionally sit down and close my eyes, then there's a different process that takes place. But I've been much more accepting and wider in what I consider meditation. I used to be more like, oh, no, that's not meditation. Meditation is like this, and you should do it like that. And then when I started experiencing, I think I've talked about this before, when I came to Plum Village, which is a center where they meditate, I think 5 hours per week. And I used to do that before lunch in my centers, maybe even before breakfast in some places almost. So then, were they not doing meditation? Well, they did more mindfulness. They did more sharing circles where they let things come out, and they worked in a different way. So people just use these words, and I don't even know what they mean anymore. I don't think it's really important. I mean, we're trying to do something here, and I have a approach that is specifically focused on becoming aware of the distortions, specifically focused on moving your time perception. I'm not saying time doesn't exist, it's just that your perception of time is wrong. So time that isn't spread out, and you can collapse that and just experience now. And then what that leads to is that when you're doing that, you feel this sense of the thing that I'm finding difficult to explain words, but joy, happiness, well-being with peace. So it's a peaceful well-being, peaceful calm. I used to say, before I even started meditating, I called it happy feet. And that was before that movie came out, because I would feel it in my stomach, that I would lie in bed in the mornings and I would be a child, and I'd like wake up and I had this like happy feet in my stomach. There was no resistance. Nothing was impossible. The whole world lay in front of me, and I'd lie in bed and I'm like, it's summer morning and I can hear the birds. I can smell the ocean, and I know that today we are going to have an amazing time. And I just have this well-being inside of me. It's a very calm feeling, a very peaceful feeling, and everything is possible. You move towards that. There's a bit more to it, but kind of. So for me, that's practice. But is that meditation? I don't know. I mean, like I said, I think he was referring to meditation states. Let's see, Jessica said, exactly. I lost awareness of my body and very little thought. Jessica is saying, feel safe. Exactly. Because when you're in these states of not distorting, of not having a strong sense of self, you don't feel fear. Now, it's important to realize that when it feels safe, and it is safe, but that doesn't mean that the world around you is safe. It's just that your distortion that you normally have that makes you feel fear disappears. So you can stand next to a chainsaw that is going, and you're like, you know that it's dangerous. But there is not a feeling of, oh, this is dangerous. But that doesn't mean you intellectually. The problem is that then, if you're really spiritual, you think like, okay, I can't be harmed. This is not dangerous, and then you put your hand on the chainsaw blade as the chain is going, and then I promise you that no matter how deep you're meditating, you are going to cut your hand, and you're going to have a nasty accident. So it's important to separate, feel safe, and actually the world around you being safe. Now we're coming to what does the word safe mean? Meaning that it's not dangerous, but it can still feel safe. So you can feel safe next to the chainsaw. You don't have to have fear of the chainsaw. And in fact, if you're working with power tools, well, some people say it's healthy to have some amount of fear of them, and that's just so you don't get careless. But it's really when you use. I have a chainsaw driver's license to have in Sweden, and I also work with big woodworking tools, like where you run wood through machinery that can cut your fingers off or like shoot it back and actually pierce you. And I remember the carpenter that taught me that, he said that, Martin, if you hesitate, if you have fear, then it's going to be dangerous. You need to put the plank down, decide what you're going to do, think about it, know that it's dangerous, because if you put your hand there, then you can have an accident. So when you go over the rotating thing, you put it here, and then you have a thing so you don't actually touch the wood. Move it over, then you move your hand over, you keep clear, but you have to keep on pushing. If you get fear and hesitate, then it's going to shoot it back at you. So it's basically, I don't even know what I got into that, but it feels safe, but that doesn't mean that it's not dangerous. And I think that's an important thing to do. We're not trying to get away from this world. We're trying to become part of this world even more aware of what you have around you. And when you have fear, you're actually not aware of the world because you're distorting. But that doesn't mean that you see someone who's walking around with a gun shooting people and you feel, oh, I feel safe. Oh, I'm not going to be shot by him because I don't feel fear. And then you go up and maybe it's someone, okay, obviously he doesn't have to shoot you or she because she has a gun. But I'm just saying that if you're in a war zone and people are shooting, don't just feel safe and then walk. That's not a good idea. Jessica laughing, yeah. Jessica said again, it's table saw. My dad was a custom. Oh, nice. He was hurt by a table saw. Yeah. I was thinking of the planer when I was doing that, but also the table saw. Absolutely. That was actually the first thing. I have one, a big one in my basement. I think it has like 5 horsepower or something. And if it would jab like the blade when it was spinning, it will just shoot it back. Was he okay, your dad, or did he get hurt seriously? I've seen videos of when they shoot and they stick like in just through the wall. It's like a projectile. But anyway, what I wanted to say there was that it's important to separate. It's a new way of interacting with the world. You're interacting with the world with a sense of safety, with a sense of not having to defend your thoughts or ideas. But that doesn't mean that the world can't be dangerous. It doesn't mean that you can't be hurt. And it doesn't mean that you shouldn't actually say yes and no to things. It just changes how you interact. And instead of interacting with, because if you take away that, then all of a sudden everything is new. Everything you see something, it's like it's the first time you ever experience holding a cup. It's the first time I ever do this. It feels like it's the first time. It's like you've never done this before. It's just like a child picking it up. Because you don't have the distortion of this is porcelain, this could be dangerous, this probably contains something drinkable, or maybe not. And this reflects light in a certain way. I know what this is going to feel like. And that is a distortion that you have. When you take those away, then you're truly experiencing this in this moment. And that's why we're doing all these things, to kind of collapse time into just experiencing now. It takes time. It's not something that you intellectually understand. You just observe over and over, and then you pop into these states and you observe it like that, and then you do it more. Mats is saying, the happy feet feeling you described, did you have that experience in your adult life before meditating? Or did meditation enable you to feel that way again? It happened sometimes. I remember when I lost it, I almost said it was when I met my fiance. I hope she's not listening to this. It was when you start thinking life is difficult, when you start distorting against things, when you have all these responsibilities and things you have to do, it makes it more difficult. When you grow up, it makes it more difficult. When you're younger, you don't have responsibilities. You don't have to think about economy, don't have to think about food, don't have to think about wars. Well, some kids unfortunately have to, but when I was a child, I was fortunate in that I was protected from all of those things. And then it's just easier to experience and be, and you feel it more. And I did feel it in my youth, but I think it changed sometime after I started working, and I just had it less and less. And then I had more and more when I was a monastic, and then I met my fiance, and then I had it less. Because then it was trying to get two people to work together. And now that we've kind of learned how to live together and function together, and then I'm having it more again. So it really is, it's a matter of it's something you can practice and train, for sure. I have sadly not felt that feeling very a long time. Yeah, and I'm happy you know what I mean, Mats, because that feeling, that's exactly, for me, that is the purpose of meditating. That is the purpose of what we're doing here. It's to feel that way. And when you start seeing that the reason you're not feeling that, and so I just had this discussion today. I talked to another person who's on YouTube, and she's into spirituality, and I was trying to convey that is not about what we do, because people get into astrology, people get into law of attraction because they believe if I can do this thing, then I will feel this feeling, this like, whoa, this feeling of fulfillment, of anything is possible, of freedom, of like not having all this conflict about what is right, what is wrong, what I should do, I can fail, I can, it's just possibilities, and you just naturally seem to take the right choices because you're not taking them from a sense of I need to defend myself, they're wrong, I'm right. So when you realize that you are the one who's standing in away from that, it's not that you need to learn to become a master manifester or to speak to your spirit guides or to see past lifetimes. That's just more of the same, and people don't see this. I think it's clear to me because I came in as an atheist, and I tried all these things, and I became a monk, and I started meditating because I wanted to feel that way again. I thought that I would get that feeling if I could just, you're applying for a job now, and I always thought that if I could just find that perfect job, then I will have this feeling again. If I can just find that perfect girlfriend, then this will have this feeling again. And that's not it. It's you distorting and make. And I mean, I don't say that to be hard on you, saying you're a bad person. I'm saying like it's me, this you feeling of me here that's defending itself, that's making that difficult. And when you try to live with someone, that kind of starts. You get so close, so that brings up a lot of this distortion. And I think a lot of people get together, and the first few months or the first year, you're in love, and then everything is fine, and then all of a sudden, like, who the hell is this person? I don't like them, and then people give up, and they never start to see that. And that's also why people say you can have relationships and learn from them, but I think you should not be in a relationship where everything is just terrible and you have to work with everything, because then you probably, I'm not saying you couldn't, it's just unnecessary work. Just take someone who's somewhat compatible with you, have somewhat similar ideas, and it's just a generally, I mean, the bare minimum is just meeting someone who's a good, normal person, who's not going to be cruel to you, not going to make you feel bad intentionally. And then just work with that. And then when you start looking at these things, you'll feel this more. And you can start looking at, like, why am I feeling, because if I let myself do this thing, then he or she will feel angry at me because they don't want me to do that. And then obviously if you want to be with someone else, then you have to think about, is this how we want to run a relationship? And then if it's not, then, well, obviously then you can't be together, and then just accept that. I could never be in an open relationship like that. It just wouldn't work for me because it's not how I want to have my relationship. That doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means that for me there would be too much conflict there. It's not necessary. Sorry, I don't even remember what I was talking about from the beginning. Happy feet. Oh, Mats was saying that he's sad he hadn't felt that in a long time. Jessica said, I'm dealing with legal issues right now, so I'm hoping this will relax my nervous system so I can function better daily. I'm sorry to hear that, Jessica. Yeah, that's when you're looking at the distortion you have towards that, because I understand when you're saying that relax your nervous system, there is a fear of being okay. If you would ask yourself, like, why am I not feeling okay right now? Then you're saying, well, because of this, and this. And there's a belief that my outer world makes it so that it's not okay for me to feel relaxed or feel okay. And then we come up and use all these techniques and ideas to learn to get to that place. But ultimately, you don't actually need them. It's just that it's a belief that the outer world is a certain way, so I cannot feel good. And I'm not saying this is easy. I'm not saying that, oh, bad, you should be able to do this. I can't even do this the whole time. It's difficult for me as well. But it is something that we can affect, and it's important to know that it's not that you need to win this legal battle. It might be that your whole life seems like it's screwed and over, but it's not. It's just that you have lots of really difficult consequences. Mindful Mama, thank you for the Q&A. I missed the meditation because I needed to do other things. I really missed it, but joined for the question and answer anyway. Thank you for bringing such a nice community together here. Thank you, Mindful Mama. It's very nice. I always like these talks afterwards. It's so interesting to hear others' experience and questions. Can learn a lot from that. I agree. I mean, when I had all my people coming to me with their issues while I was a monk, part of the thing I did was I would just sit and I would listen and I would see my distortion towards what they were saying. So I could actually look at my distortion towards things I hadn't even realized just by hearing their life stories. Jessica saying, haha, exactly. And Mats then, yeah, I think I need to let the distortion dissolve instead of adding more positive experiences, or rather finding the missing piece. Also, you clearly haven't been doing online dating in a while. If you think there are normal people, I know I hear these stories. People say, "I'm like what world is this?" I'm not sure I could handle that. I would just, yeah. I've heard stories, and are they actually true? Is it really that bad? I mean, my brother was divorced recently, and he seems to have found some nice people, but there also seems to be a lot of people who are, yeah, quite far out there. And then that's fine. You just kind of avoid them. I mean, most people, at least, just, I mean, it's not so difficult to do, to just be a normal person, it feels like. Maybe it is. I don't know. I'm fortunate. I am very fortunate that I don't have to look for that. Oh my goodness. Honestly, if I would be single now, I think I'd just kind of skip all of that stuff, especially since I have kids. It would be too much complications to bring someone else in. And I think it's really this. I've been with my fiance for almost 9 years, and there was a period when it was really tough, but fortunately we stayed with it, and it started out very passionately, and we were very much in love. And then we had a period when things were difficult, and life happened. I was burnt out. We moved. She moved from another country, and things were difficult. But then we went through that, and that made us stronger in a way that I mean, I love her in a way now that I could never have loved her from the beginning. And I kind of wonder what it would have been like. I'm 46 now. What if I would have been this person when I was 20? I think all of the girlfriends I had before, it's not really they that were the problem. I feel like I was the issue. So it really is a point to work on yourself before you go into a relationship. Sorry, I wasn't. I missed what Mats was saying. I think I need to let the distortions dissolve instead of adding more positive experience. I was talking to one of my students recently about this, and trying to clarify what I'm trying to say. It's not that we're trying to make the distortions go away. It's more that we're allowing this distortions to come up freely, and then they go away. So if you feel, how should I say this? If you think about the chainsaw, no, that's too strong. If you think about burning yourself on this cup, let's say the water here is like the tea is really warm, and you think about the feeling, okay, if I put my finger in here, I'm going to burn myself, and that's good. No, that's not strong enough. Spiders, that's perfect. Okay, spiders. Let's say you have arachnophobia. You're afraid of spiders. I'm reading Harry Potter down now, by the way, with my daughter, and we're just at the part with Aragog the spider. And so she's really into spiders. Oh, she's so cute. Never mind. I'm not going to get into it. Let's say you have a fear of spiders, arachnophobia. So you see a spider and you feel like, oh my goodness, there's a spider. And you have all this fear, like, oh, you do like this. If you look at that, that's a distortion. So there's a strong, like, okay, reality, there's a spider. My reality, I don't want anything that even has like 8 legs in a 10-mile radius from me. Distortion in between. Now, if you would actually allow that feeling to come, meaning feeling this, there's a spider, oh my God, like, and you can try to intellectually do this by saying, okay, what's the worst that's going to happen? The spider, I know it's not dangerous. I know it's just like a spider, unless it's like a black widow or some spider that actually is dangerous. Then, again, like I said before, then move away. Why would you be close to a spider that's dangerous? Unless it's in a cave, I mean, in an aquarium. So then you would feel that feeling and you actually allow it to come. You don't resist it. You feel, what does it feel like to feel real sheer panic of the spider? And if you can do that without pushing against it, it'll come and you realize there is nothing there. There was never anything there. And I mean, the spider is there and I am here. So that's obviously there. But this thing happening here, this distortion, that's all you. It's not that that thing is making me feel this way. It's that when you allow that to come, it goes away. So it's the same with Jessica and her legal issues. If you would have that legal issue and you would actually feel the feeling, oh my goodness, this might happen, and I don't know what's happening to it, and it's not important. Let's say it's about someone sued you for something, and you're feeling like, oh, that would take away my life savings, everything, or it would take my child away from me, and you just feel that. We feel that if I allow that to happen, that means I'm saying it's okay. No, it does not mean that. It just means that you allow that feeling to come, and that is scary. Let's see. Fit at the crisis. Mats was talking about dating again. I let them go away on their own. Sounds much easier. Yeah, it's not that you're trying to move away from it. It really is that, I mean, we are, in a way, we are doing this because when the distortions go away, that's when you start observing the world around you in this clarity state, in this non-centric state. But if you try to let go of them, then it doesn't work. So it's one of those things that you kind of know where you're moving, but you can't actually do that thing. Instead, you do something else to make that happen. My mama is saying, I experience more and more that I understand the distortion method that you teach. I am more aware at moments the distortion comes up instead of being dragged into the whole story of the self. I can see it still happening, my mind joining in, wanting to defend something. Do you think meditation or moments to moment awareness, mindfulness is helping most? Or both? Do you think meditation or moment to moment awareness? Now we come to what Mats was asking before. What is meditation? I don't even know the difference between those two because for me they're kind of this. I mean, in meditation you should have moment to moment awareness. But what it really is about is that I see the meditation practices like we're sitting here, we're sharpening, we're calming down so that it's a bit easier to observe these things, to be aware. And we're also sharpening the mind so we can use it in a better way. But then after that, you need to be aware not need to. What we're striving to is to be aware, not just like for 20 minutes or for an hour. We want to be aware the whole day. And the way we do that is we ask ourselves, how am I feeling right now? And you look at that and you feel, okay, you know what? I'm not feeling happy right now. I'm not feeling these happy feet. And then you ask, well, I'm taking this a bit out of context, but I'll just kind of, as if though we were having a coaching call and we were looking at this, then we would say, okay, you ask throughout the day, like, how am I feeling right now? How am I doing right now? What's my state right now? What am I experiencing right now? And you feel like, you know what? I'm just feeling this distortion. I need to be somewhere else. And then like it's uncomfortable. I need to do something. I don't feel well. Like, in other words, why are you not feeling this happy feet? Like, what's in the way? And you say, no, it's because this person said this thing to me. So I feel uncomfortable now because they said that I look fat or that my hair was greasy or they said that I should be working harder, which may be right. I'm not saying it's not, but why do you let them saying that thing or them doing that thing or whatever it is that happened outside of you make you feel bad? So then you keep on looking at that, and you can actually bring that awareness, and you start questioning. You start saying, like, why do I believe that the outside world dictates my inner state? And it's not that we're trying to intellectually change and say that they're wrong because we're all one, and so it doesn't matter. That's not what we're trying to do. We're really like looking at that, like asking, why do I not allow myself to feel happy feet now? What is it I'm waiting for? Because if you look at these slices of now, it's now, right? Like right now is now. If you are ever going to have happy feet again, if I talk to Mats, I'll say thank you for the meditation session and answering my questions thoroughly. I need to make some food now. Have a nice one, everyone. Thank you, Mats. Really nice to have you. You can listen to this later. I'll use you as an example, or someone else. If you look at why we're not feeling this feeling of happy feet now, whenever you're going to feel that, it's going to be in the future, but that will not be in the future. It will be in the now, in the future. But it's still going to be in the now, meaning it's still going to be now. It's just that it's not this now, it's that now. So it's not like you can feel happy feet outside of now. It has to happen now. And why not allow yourself to feel happy feet now? And then you say, no, I cannot because I have this thing over there that needs to be done. I have this thing troubling me here. I don't have that thing, or I should have that thing. And then just looking at those things and asking yourself, why not allow yourself to feel happy feet right now? I see that it's actually getting late. I got carried away with this discussion because I was having so much fun. Thank you, everyone. I really enjoyed it. And Jessica, nice to have you here also. Nice to have you back also, Mats and Mindful Mama. We'll... thank you. I have so much fun with these discussions. I forget that it's late here and I need to go to bed because I have to go to work tomorrow. But yeah, I hope you guys had fun also, and we'll continue this discussion on Thursday. Thursdays are same time, but we don't have the guided meditations. We just sit together, which is also very nice. So thank you, everyone, and I'll see you on Thursday again.